It is that time for my response to a tweet. And today's tweet says, how can the Pope say Trump isn't a Christian when he gets 40% of the support from evangelicals? And I want to change that to the majority of the support. I'm going to add to your tweet. How can the Pope say Trump isn't a Christian when he gets the majority of the support from evangelicals? Wow. Interesting. When I heard this little brouhaha, it was very, very interesting. And so to get this tweet, it fell into my wheelhouse of what I want to respond to. And here's my response to the tweet. Is he? Is he a Christian? What is it to be a Christian? Now, we all fall short. We all sin. Nobody's perfect. Trust me. I can tell you that firsthand. None of us is perfect. So being a Christian doesn't mean you have to be perfect. But there's three specific characteristics we're supposed to admire so much to where we just don't purposely be messed up. Where we don't purposely revere our flaws. Where we don't flaunt and brag sin. And these three prerequisites is one, we have to believe in the birth, the virgin birth at that, of Jesus Christ. That's the first prerequisite. The second prerequisite of being a Christian is we have to believe in his crucifixion. That he died one of the most horrible deaths imaginable, nailed to the cross to die for all of our sins. The third prerequisite is that he died such a horrible death, there is no way possible that he can rise from the dead. That he can raise from that. They can raise from that. There's no way he can recover from that. So we have to believe in his birth, his death, and his resurrection. And we have to believe in this so much in all the things in between, the miracles and things of this nature, the way Jesus conducted himself with humanity. We have to believe in this so much that we just don't go flaunt sin. We don't go brag about sin. Yes, we all sin and we've all fallen short, but there is just something about being a Christian. We're not supposed to brag about it. We're not supposed to just go out there and just do sin and say, I'm a Christian, I'm not supposed to be. No, there's supposed to be a certain level of accountability that you have to yourself as a believer. And also, there should be a certain level of accountability that we should encourage a believer to have. So that we don't fall into the trap of suborning sin or supporting the flaunting of sin. There's a certain level of accountability that we should want to put on our fellow brothers and sisters. So what? That we will be that beacon of life so that other people who are not Christians would come to us or come to our side. Believe in Jesus Christ, the birth, the death, and the resurrection, and want to have their life forever changed. That's my understanding of a Christian. So now here comes the Pope. He is asked a question and he gives a response. He could have gave a response of, it's not for me to say, it's not for me to do, it's not for me to think, I just worried about the things I worry about. He could have responded like that. But he was asked a specific question about a specific point in time and a specific thing that was said, and he responded. For him to elevate this response and put Trump's name in it, it should really, really, really want to touch our spirits. Instead of just being all protective of Donald Trump and the Pope says, why would the Pope elevate Donald Trump into his answer when the question is something that all of the candidates support? Have you ever asked that question? Why Trump? Why would he say any person that would want to build a wall is not Christian? And he says, singles out Donald Trump. Why? Because here's something that you should consider. The Pope brought up Donald Trump answering the question of the wall, but he brought Donald Trump into it based on the preponderance of the evidence. And so he questioned he answered the question of the wall, but he questioned his Christianity because of the preponderance of the evidence. If you are a Christian, which person on the campaign trail is in America, in a Judeo-Christian nation, the beacon of hope to billions of people around the world? Which candidate out there is bragging about sin? Which candidate out there is making a mockery openly of Jesus Christ? He can say anything he wants. It's America, it's a free country. But when do we as Christians start to recognize that our frustrations has allowed us to participate in the defaming of our salvation? Don't forget, Donald Trump was the one that said Jesus died on a silly cross. That is the second prerequisite of our salvation. So for him to be getting 40% of the evangelical vote with making statements like this, making a mockery of our salvation, we got a bigger problem. We got bigger issues. Don't forget, Donald Trump is the one that says I can commit murder on someone and still not lose support. You can't brag about stuff like that and use that as an analogy and rep Jesus Christ in the same breath to the point to where you shouldn't be held to a different kind of standard. See, us believing in Jesus Christ and being Christians holds us to a different standard, people. And even when we make a mistake, we don't flaunt it. We don't flaunt sin. We don't brag about sin. We are to imitate Christ. Where in the Bible would Christ brag about sin? These are supposed to be things that we're supposed to look out for so that when we can recognize a wolf in sheep's clothes. These are things that we're supposed to have our antennas up on to know when somebody is using Jesus' name in vain. We're supposed to have these kind of antennas up to recognize that these are the kind of Christians that kill Christians, which makes them not Christian indeed. It's just rhetoric. It's saying things to get you close to massacre you. We're supposed to have our antennas up on these things. So the Trump gets singled out by the Pope because of the preponderance of the evidence. He's got the percentage of the evangelical vote because the preponderance of the evidence of the fundamental transformation of this country. When you can give somebody that can brag about sin and boast in sin, you have been fundamentally transformed and you need to check something out. And this does not apply to Donald Trump. It applies to Ted Cruz too. He's taking the Christian mantle and doing things of sin over and over and over again. When are we going to start looking at from that prism? Because we will be held accountable. That don't mean that you don't support Donald Trump or Ted Cruz. But as evangelicals, we cannot support sin and the braggadocious nature of someone who wants to brag about sin or commit sin to our fellow Americans. I'm Phil Williams. That's my response to a tweet on The Phil Williams Show.